channel. I'm Kira and I wanted to make a video getting to know me a bit better because I get asked the same questions quite frequently and I am working on some really cool and interesting projects out in Japan. 田舎が最高です So we love the countryside and Kyoto and Tokyo. 人が多いです Wanted to make a video explaining what I'm doing and who I am. So on Instagram I asked if anyone had any questions for me, and I also have a list of frequently asked questions that I want to get through. So the first question that I want to answer that I get asked the most is where I'm from. So this question is always really hard for me to answer because I'm mixed with 12 ethnicities, but I'm basically Burmese and Polish. I was born in Africa where I had an amazing childhood and living in the tropics was so beautiful, and I lived there for about 5 years and it was such an idyllic childhood, and I actually went to a French international school. So the languages I was around when I was growing up were English, French, Swahili, and Burmese, and I got pretty good with my French, but I lost it over the years. Now, to complicate things, my dad is from America, but he has Polish and English ancestry, and we recently found out also Norwegian, and he worked in the United Nations for about 30 years. So that's why we traveled a lot, and that's why I was born in Africa, and it's why I visited a lot of interesting countries when I was a kid. Now, my mom is from Burma, or also known as Myanmar, and she is an incredible woman who immigrated to Australia for university, and I really appreciate my Burmese heritage, and I love the food so much, and I used to visit Burma at least once a year, and we had so many incredible experiences, and the history and culture and temples were so incredible, and it is truly heartbreaking to see what is going on there now politically.
State of emergency was announced, and Military General Min Aung Hlaing took control of the country. Politicians and critics of the military were locked up, including the nation's leader and the rightful winner of the election, Aung San Suu Kyi. In the years since, the situation has escalated into a civil war, and the military behind all of this has repeatedly been accused by human rights groups and United Nations experts of committing crimes against humanity and even genocide.
I really pray for a positive future for Burma, and I believe the rest of the world should definitely go visit because it is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. Being from Burma, my mom is Buddhist, so I was raised with Buddhist values and lots of visits to the temple and monks visiting our home for birthdays. And even though I don't necessarily associate with a religion these days, I feel very spiritual, and I hold a lot of Buddhist values that I live in my everyday life. Someone asked me, "Hi, can you speak Burmese?" And my answer to that is Mingalaba Shin, Jima Name Kiraba, Onokaswe Chaite, Mohinga Iyan Chaite, the Patime Achaisom. And I can also say some Burmese prayers like Bodandranengisami, Demendranengisami, Tengendranengisami. But my mom didn't teach me much Burmese growing up, so I have better comprehension skills than speaking skills, but I really love the Burmese language and I think it's so beautiful and musical, and I hope I will be able to visit my family in Burma soon. So with my mixed heritage, I came out looking pretty mixed and quite racially ambiguous. So every country that I travel to, people kind of get confused where I'm from or if I'm from there. And especially because I currently live in Japan, a lot of people think I'm Japanese, but in actuality, I am 0% Japanese, and my reasons for living here will be discussed later in this video. Because of my parents, I was born with dual citizenship to Australia and the United States. I lived in Australia for about 10 years, and I had a pretty tumultuous time by the end of my stay there, so I moved to the United States independently when I was 15. And that story can be saved for another time because it is pretty depressing and crazy. Long story short is I thrived in the US and I got a full ride scholarship to the University of Oregon, and everything really stabilized. And then after I graduated, I traveled the world indefinitely and went to New Zealand, Australia, all of Southeast Asia, and I ended up in Japan. So my life has always been revolved around travel, so it's sort of in my nature and my genetic disposition to be a citizen of the world. And that's what I feel like I am today. I can kind of belong anywhere, yet I don't really belong anywhere. So a little bit about my academic and professional history. I have always loved nature and people and traveling and cultures, and I channeled my love for the planet and humanity via my undergrad degree in environmental studies. I knew I wanted to do something related to sustainable development, conservation, promoting positivity, and making a positive impact in the world in some way. And I've had incredible opportunities like living in the Amazon and doing fieldwork related to the conservation and ecological sectors. My time in the Amazon was extremely impactful and beautiful, and it showed me that I can have a direct impact in the world and do really fulfilling research. I thought I was going to be a scientist after that program, and when I got back to school for my final year, they required us to do a leadership program, either related to the education or science field. And because I had never taught before, I thought, sure, why not? Let me try education. And teaching felt like my natural calling. And I had such an enriching, amazing experience teaching middle schoolers about climate science in a beautiful old growth forest in Oregon.
That is amazing.
Wow, Bigfoot sighting. Oh my god. And I'll never forget my teacher at the end of the program who told me, Kira, you would be doing a disservice to humanity if you chose to never teach again. And that really resonated with me, and I wonder how I'm going to channel teaching in my future, but it seriously was one of the best experiences of my life, and now I know I love science and I love education, and the next step for me was to look into policy work. So at the beginning of this year, when I returned back to Japan, I organized myself to do an internship in Tokyo at the Institute of Sustainable Energy Policy. This was such an inspiring organization to work with, and I learned all about Japan's renewable energy policies following the Fukushima incident.
Japan had budgeted 230 million yen for nuclear energy, and it began to build nuclear plants faster than any other nation in the world. But in 2011, everything changed. The quake was the strongest Japan had seen for 1,000 years, even bigger than the Great Kanto earthquake in 1923. The tsunami flooded the nuclear power plant. Result? Massive overheating, and reactors 1, 2 and 3 suffered meltdowns. When the power supply failed, operators lost control of the plant, and a hydrogen explosion blew the roof and walls off reactor 4.
And I was introduced to this world of sustainable energy that I realized will be maybe the most important thing we need to do. And I believe this is going to be key in mitigating the effects of climate change. So because of this internship, I have become incredibly passionate about sustainable energy, and I feel like it intersects a lot with my passions for conservation and education. So a few months ago, I was inspired to start applying to all these grad schools, and I was looking at Yale, Columbia, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and I found the most amazing program for me at Johns Hopkins University. I wrote a really passionate essay about how the program sort of found me, in the sense that because it's an online program, I would be able to continue living and working in Japan, and I would be able to do my capstone projects in Washington, D.C. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm about 5 weeks into my program, and it has totally changed my life, and I feel like all of these doors are opening, and I feel more capable than ever to pursue my sustainability dreams. This leads me to the big question that everyone's asking, what is my business? Because as of a few days ago, I got approved for my business proposal in the countryside of Japan. Now, this business proposal allows me to upgrade from my working holiday visa to an entrepreneurial startup visa, and I am so excited, and I have some really big ambitions for this project. So my idea is to basically create a community revitalization center that promotes international cultural exchange and cultural preservation. My idea is to have two streams of customers, basically foreigners that want to come to Japan and maybe they have a unique skill or talent that they could showcase to the community. And because of the economy in Japan currently, a lot of Japanese people aren't able to travel easily around the world. So having a center in a rural community where you can travel without traveling and meet foreigners from around the world that are interesting and appreciate Japan would be a beautiful way for the community to be exposed to international cultures. So basically I want to invite foreigners here to experience rural Japan and also participate in a lot of local traditions and learn about Japanese customs. And these visitors would pay a base fee for their accommodation and the activities they would want to do. And it would sort of be an ancient Japan tour and immersion experience. And my host has invited hundreds of couch surfers around the world to stay here. So there's already this sense of this place being a sort of international cultural exchange center. I really had the community in mind when I thought of this. So if they came and visited here and I had an interesting guest who was a Brazilian guitarist, for example, I think it would be really interesting and exciting to hold cultural events where people could learn about Japanese customs and Japanese people could learn about foreign customs. Now, my long-term ambition with this project that I'm working on right now, because it will take years to see the effects of, is to create a sort of sustainable energy business within this. So something I learned in my internship in Tokyo is a technology called agrivoltaics, and these are solar photovoltaic systems that you can plant in the ground and create a sort of agricultural setting. So I have a vision of creating a blueberry farm here that would be totally insulated by solar panels, and it would be a fun attraction because everybody loves blueberries, but also it could showcase what renewable energies could look like and how you could reasonably integrate them into rural communities. My biggest dreams for this project is that it could model ideas for rural communities in Japan or around the world to preserve their cultures, but also develop sustainably. And if within a few years this whole project could be run off of renewables, I will be so proud. It has been a lot of work, and the Japanese bureaucracy is incredibly difficult to navigate, especially as a foreigner. And this also answers another question on do you speak Japanese? But I speak quite a good amount and enough to make jokes and make friends and kind of live and work anywhere in Japan now, just because I'm a positive person. But the keigo and the things that you need to do in order to create a business in Japan is difficult for a Japanese person. So that's been an incredible challenge and learning curve, and I've learned so much from this experience already, and I can't believe I can call myself a founder and CEO now. My goal is to launch this business on my birthday, so January 14th, and I have a lot of work to do before then, but this is going to be my way to directly do something good for the world and for this community, and I'm just gonna do my best. So there's this question, where do I see myself in 5 years? So my life in Japan kind of happened pretty spontaneously, and I didn't ever expect that I would end up in Japan, but I am so happy here, and with this business I am very excited for the future. But my long-term goals have been to try and work with the United Nations, just like my father did, and he worked in the UNHCR for refugees and displaced peoples, and I am hoping to work for the sustainable development sectors like United Nations Environmental Protection or United Nations Habitat. So I'm looking into all of my options and networking with people that work in the industry. So in 5 years, hopefully I will have a job with the UN, I will have a successful business, and I'm going to be even more well-traveled than I am today. I'm also thinking about trying to acquire land or property out in Japan, so maybe I'll be a homeowner by the age of 28 or sooner. So related to my career ambitions, there is a lot of questioning about my relationships and how I navigate traveling so much, and the fact that no one can really keep up with me these days because I'm so independent and I have really independent dreams that don't really rely on everyone else. And right now I am single and I am really content in my independence, and I think it's really healthy that everything I'm doing for my business and for my future can be totally credited to my efforts, and I just feel really happy in my own lane right now, and I'm not really needing a relationship to fulfill anything more in my life. And the relationships I have been in have been kind of complicated because of long distance and different values and different interests. And there's a lot of these feelings of, oh my gosh, right person, wrong time, or wrong person, right time. And I've been going through that for the past couple years, but I'm on good terms with everybody, no bad blood, and I have nothing but love for the world and its people. And if a relationship happens, it would have to really benefit me and organically fit into my life. Also, in the age of social media, I've basically been doing long distance with my parents for as long as I can remember, and I feel very close to them. We call every single day. They know every single thing that goes on in my life. So because of social media, I feel really connected with the world, and there doesn't seem to be much strain on any of my relationships. So that is really lucky for me, and I do my best to keep updated with everybody and maintain all of my friendships and bonds. So happiness and staying positive, dealing with depression and anxiety and fears. This is something I have extremely close ties to, and I think I want to go more in depth in it in another video, but what I can say is one of the most important things I learned is sorrow carves where joy can be filled. So my camera died, but I just need to finish this thought, so I'm using my phone now. I wanted to say that sorrow carves where joy can be filled is something I totally resonate with, because I was so miserable and felt like life wasn't worth living, and this is maybe something I will talk about in another video because it's too dark for this one, but I snapped out of it one day and I realized life is beautiful and good outweighs evil. There are so many things to learn and so many things to experience, and I found the will. And once I found the will to live, after experiencing such misery, I became so bright. I became so fully realized of the fact that the spectrum of life is so crazy and broad and beautiful. And if it can get so dark and horrible, it can get so bright and beautiful. And I've remembered that every single day for the past few years. And it's given me this will to not only live a fulfilling life, but to live a long life. Like I'm dreaming of living till I'm 120 if I can. And there's so much I want to learn and so much I want to do. And that's how I get my optimism and faith in myself and faith in my capacity to learn and grow. And I just think good outweighs evil. And once you believe that, you can survive. And I was talking to my friend about this, who was basically saying that negative experiences can help callous the ability for you to do negative experiences. And what I mean by this is when you do something and you make a mistake, you struggle and you have to figure it out. And you do that again and again, and you become way more capable and competent to work out any problem in your life. And having the ability to navigate life's problems and take away something positive from those experiences is the essence of what I think it means to live good lives. So you have to face your fears and you have to try and conquer them, and you should grow and keep becoming a better and better person that's resilient against anything. And I can tell you the reason why I'm so happy today is because I went through the worst of times and I survived. So that's my answer to mental obstacles. So the question on how I travel so much is sort of explained by my background and my work and academic pursuits and my choices after graduation and the way I prepared all 4 years of college to save enough money to travel the world and setting off and doing exactly that after I graduated. Actually, in about a month, I'm going to be heading out on another amazing big trip, and I am able to balance out my master's degree and my business because I have just been working very efficiently. So I'm going to be going to 3 new countries. So I'm really excited for that, and the adventures of that will just be another saga for me to write in my book. Some of my favorite countries include Japan, which is for obvious reasons, like the food and the culture and the people. And I also really loved Peru. That is one of the most special places in the world for me. And I just love the Amazon rainforest, and the Inca history is so incredible. And I think Machu Picchu was one of the coolest experiences of my whole life. And I also really love Spain because of their lifestyle and the atmosphere and the climate and just the whole vibe of siestas and fiestas. I think Spain is a really special place in the world. So those are my favorite countries. I also want to mention some of my personality traits that I think have made me a better traveler, and I think it comes with the fact that I'm an only child, so I'm so independent, and I always have been, and me moving around a lot, and especially my move at 15, I learned how to never be homesick, and like I said, I manage all my international bonds pretty well, and in general, I think you could say that I'm an extrovert, and I really enjoy my time alone, and I thrive in my independence, but I can communicate with anybody. And because I have such an international upbringing, I feel like I can find things in common with anyone in the world, and I can pick up on exactly where you're from by your accent, and I think it makes people feel like they're really understood, and I feel like I can connect with anyone in the world because of either the countries I've been to or the countries that make up my identity. And another aspect of my personality that drives all of my opportunities is the fact that I am constantly probing for new opportunities and experiences and connections. So I'm just always searching and looking out for interesting people to meet and talk to. And I've gotten in touch with incredible people like directors in the UN and people that are in the solar energy industry based in Germany, and amazing celebrities that I just send messages to and they respond. So I'm constantly searching for new opportunities, and this allows every door around me to be opened and me to take a peek inside each one and figure out what I want to do. The same reason why you wouldn't want to leave a job if you didn't have another one lined up, the way I see it is that you should always be learning and looking for all the other options for you for the sake of your happiness. And traveling has allowed me to meet so many interesting people doing unique things, and I learn a lot about what I can actually do in the world. I have so many more things that I want to talk about, but I can't make this video so long, so I have to stop there, and I am just so glad that I can express myself authentically with you, and it just makes me so happy to connect with like-minded people, and I've made so many amazing connections ever since starting my YouTube career, and also lately just being more active on social media. Even though I live in the rural countryside of Japan, I feel really well connected with the world. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was interesting for you, and I am really glad to make your acquaintance, and I hope to see you soon. Let me know in the comments if you have any more questions for me or you want to see another video like this. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. I will see you in my next video, so see you later.